taking it back. You know you love Diamond Rio. Don't even play like you don't know this song.
This is our song. When we first started dating, we would play this all the time.
Oh, no. Did we come? Was this in our wedding or?
I think we played. No, you played this when you proposed to me.
That's right. They found you and me. It must be wrong. Well, hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel for Fridays.
That's exactly right. I'm Josh.
I'm Amanda Wright, and we are just here today to start a little journey with you guys, and that is to share a story first off.
And bring you into our life.
Yes,
and just share it with you.
Share a little story, and I always get to be around people. We've shared our story before here and there, different platforms and stages, but we never kind of sat down and just put it out there.
But it's the one thing. It's the one thing that your friends are like, "Oh my gosh, share that story." So listen up. So I was a little girl, little small town Georgia girl. Grew up in a little town called Glenville, Georgia. And I grew up in Georgia, and my dad was a pastor. And her dad.
My dad's pastor. So we're both PKs.
That's right.
Pastor's kids. And so that's like really church is all we do every Sunday. That's
I said was. They still are.
They're still pastors. Yeah. And
we'll
so
get to that.
It all started back with a crush that I had on this guy. And he was a pastor's son. And I loved him very much and wanted to marry him ever since before I can remember. And it just happened to be this guy sitting next to me.
So let's talk about it.
So Josh, him and his family would come down to our church. My dad would speak for his dad would speak for my dad.
And we did summer camp and kids camp. If you grew up in church culture, you know what we're talking about.
Yes, and so we had the best time. And so the highlight of like any of my life was when Josh's family would come down to Watermelon Creek Baptist Church where my dad preached and pastored. Right. And their whole family would come, and we were so excited. In Glenville,
Georgia.
Yes, Glenville, Georgia, where we had a Dairy Queen, and we had this Chinese place that was so good.
And it smells like a poop.
No, it doesn't. That's just a...
Oh, never mind. Never mind. Wrong
but
time.
I love all my Glenville people, and so we, I'll be so excited. I had the biggest crush on this guy. And so our dads would come speak, and it was the funniest thing. Your dad would get a watermelon when he spoke.
Oh,
we had... Because we were Watermelon
But
Creek Baptist Church.
let's keep
so, we went to teen camp, student camp. We would take our church up to his dad's camps that they would do every year. And your girl got to go to teen camp even when I wasn't a teenager because my dad was a pastor. So I got to not only see Josh.
No, you didn't.
One time at
a pastor's kids perk.
Yes, PK perk. So I would get to go to teen camp with my family, and then the following week we go to junior camp. So I got to see Josh Wright 2 times.
That's right.
And so the only problem was
I was 6 years older.
He was 6 years older than me. So it was literally just a little girl's crush, and I told everybody and their mom I was going to marry him when I got older.
I didn't look at you like that. At that time, so
I'm just a little girl. I was just a little girl, and I had a humongous crush. Everybody, though, knew. We all the girls crushed on the Rye Boys. So we went to teen camp, we went to junior camp. All the girls, oh my gosh, Rye. But I knew I was going to marry you.
Yeah.
So told all my friends that I'm going to marry him when I get older. And I'm going to write a book about it, all that stuff. And so teen camps happened, junior camps happened. And when I was 10 years old, my
10,
dad,
11.
10 years old, I got a phone call from, our family got a phone call from their family and Josh's dad.
Oh, so my dad was diagnosed with chronic myelogenous leukemia, right?
Yeah.
And if you've ever been through cancer, you already know from losing your hair to being really sick, Dad went through the works, right? About a year later, you were diagnosed with acute. So I'm going down the hill so we had like the gymnasium and all that. I'm running down the hill. I think it's like a camp or something like that we had, and you had just been diagnosed with acute myelogenous leukemia.
This month, like 18 years ago.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I already know how sick Dad was. I knew what they were about to go through, so I was like, oh my gosh, how in the world could this be happening to their family as well? So
yeah, and so we got the call. I had been sick for a while, and the doctors didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I was fine, but I was tired. I had bruises, I had like lymph nodes, and my blood was out of whack. And so our family went to Texas every single year, and so we were there. We were about to get off the plane. We had all this stuff planned for the kids. My sister and brother and my cousin, we were going to Six Flags, going to New Mexico, all this stuff. We were talking with my Nana on the way to her house. My mom and dad had already gotten there, and so we walk in the door, and all the adults like are crying and run to the back room, and all the kids were like, oh my gosh.
So you're a kid, you're like,
we don't know what is going on and what is happening. And so we walk in, go put our stuff in our room, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, we just got to Texas. We're here for 2 weeks. We wonder what happened. They must have got a bad phone call. So I was thinking something might have happened. I'm like sitting there racking my brain. Something must have happened to, Pastor Randy, because he's been really sick this past year. Like maybe something has happened. And a few minutes later, my mom and dad, they come and get me out of our room and say, Amanda, we just need to talk to you. And I remember like it was yesterday, they take me back into this little moose room. It's like have like bears and moose and stuff, because my Nana loved that was a New Mexico room. And I was sitting in front of this big huge mirror, and my mom and dad were like, Amanda, you've been sick for a little while, and we just got a phone call from your doctor, and we have to leave tonight. And I'm like, what? I don't want to leave. I don't want to go. We have all this planned. Why do I have to leave? And they were like,
so y'all go straight to...
But they're like, we have to go to Atlanta tonight because we believe that there's something really, really wrong with you. The specialist sent in paperwork. As soon as my dad gets off the airplane at Texas, he gets a call from my doctor. And so, sadly, we leave. Me, my mom, and my dad, we leave. And the kids and everybody else stays there. And we head to Atlanta. Yeah. And so we go to Eggleston. I was there during like the whole transition. It's now Children's Health Care. But... went to the doctor that next day, and yes, it was leukemia. And it happened to be the worst of the two types of childhood leukemia, and they were literally giving me 2 weeks if I didn't get treated. So it was literally get to Atlanta, get to the hospital. You're going to a hospital, checking you in. You're here for the long haul.
So Dad's at Emory. She's at Eggleston. I would go back and forth, and I would stay.
Yes, you would.
And just hang out.
And you had my pen.
That's
and
right.
it was my picture.
And it said cancer sucks. And woo, we
Baptist. Okay, so I did not care about the cancer at the time, because I was like, Josh Wright is coming to see me. I am so excited.
We thought we was rebellious wearing the cancer sucks.
I know. So Josh's dad is over at Emory, and I'm at Eggleston, and so he was there all the time, and so his brothers and sister would come and sit with me and see me. It was like I did not care. I was so happy, and it was what made me happy, because I was very, very, very sick, and it was really, really hard. And so my hair started falling out. They were going to put a tube in my nose, and I was like, no way. Josh Wright comes to see me. You're not putting a tube in my nose. He would go with me and walk me back to my procedures. It would be the only thing that would calm me down, and my mom and dad knew that, so they would let him come. Of course, he didn't like me like that because he had girlfriends and stuff. He was like 17 and I was 11, but I loved him.
But long story short.
Much. So, as that took place, treatment was over. They said science.
So with my dad, they said, hey, look, 7 days to live. We're done. So they sent him home with hospice, and then this one, they're like, science, that we've done everything that we can do medically.
So it's just a waiting game now. Yeah.
So they said, girl, you go to Disney World and do your thing.
So my family, we got to go to Disney World, and then we went back home, because during my treatment, we were in Atlanta. God provided a house there. It was just, that's an amazing story in itself. And so they sent me back home. That night we got back home, I had like this huge welcome. And like a shooting star went over the sky and over our house. It was just the most amazing thing. And so many details inside of that maybe we could share coming up. But it was that waiting game now. It was like, okay, we had to go back for checkups every month, every year. And during that time, we still did our junior camps and teen camps and had a whole lot of fun. Got to go back to see their family and how Pastor Randy was doing. And so when I was 14 years old, I went to stay with my grandmother. So every summer, while I got to go to my checkups and stuff, I would stay with my grandmother in the summertime, because my grandmother lived in Atlanta and she was a member of their church. So I would get to go and I would get to see Josh Wright at church and get my hug. And so I went to your church and was super pumped. And I got no hug. I waited. I saw all their eyes. And he did not come and hug me.
Listen, guys, you make one mistake.
I was devastated.
It
was terrible. I was devastated. I cried. I went to my grandmother's house and I was just watching the Titanic because I wanted to be in my sadness. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And then my grandmother took me in the bedroom and we just all laid on the bed and we cried. And she was just telling me that it was going to be okay. And I was like, I'm going to marry him one day when I'm older. And I was 14, you know. And I was writing down, if you love someone, set them free. If it's meant to be, they'll come back if they're yours. You know, if it's meant to be.
She was 14 and we're moving on.
So, I never had any boyfriends or anything because I was always going to marry Josh Rye. Yeah. So, like, after that day where he didn't hug me, I was like, there was this guy back home, I was like, I'm going to be his girlfriend. And so, that was my traumatic ending
so
of
we've been
seeing
working
Josh.
On, obviously some bitterness we want to get out through this whole thing.
14 years old.
Playing
so,
Dr. Phil over here.
Listen, so yeah, so that was like literally like my last memory.
Yeah,
like
good.
with Josh at the time. So I turned 15 and they called me cured. All this is amazing. And so this other C word, which is cured. And so I was done with, you know, that whole waiting game. And they were like, they don't believe the cancer's going to come back. And so, you know, today here I sit cancer free. But our families lost contact.
That's right. For
Our
4 years. So the last time I saw her, hold on, she was 14 years old, and I'm
and
like,
he didn't hug me.
No, But when I saw her again, it's because my brother had MySpace.
We had MySpace. So
you remember?
I'm 18 years old, grown up, and of course I have all these journals. I have all these pictures, a scrapbook of Josh Rye. You know, I had boyfriends in high school, and it was kind of like this whole thing of like, you know, you're going to love me forever, I'm going to marry you, yes, unless Josh Rye comes back into the picture because he was like my all-time crush, and I still want to marry him, still had dreams about him. I like had this one dream, we were sitting around a bonfire, anyways, it was crazy, and I was going to marry him.
Too many details.
Yes, and so, so anyways, I'm 18 years old, and MySpace happens, and my mom and dad had a computer in their room, and so they let us get on their computer. It's not like today where it's everywhere, but they let me get on the computer and have a MySpace, and so I made sure to put my great picture. I had to have a great profile pic, and I decided to look to type in Rye to see if I could find him. So I just wondered, I'm like, I wonder what he's doing. Is he married? Is he alive? You know, where is he? And so I typed in Rye, and Justin popped up. Justin Rye, and Justin is Josh's youngest brother, and so he had a MySpace. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So played it super cool and casual, sent a message, hey Justin, so great to see you on here. We've missed you guys. How's your family doing? Would love to hear from you. And then Amanda. And I didn't say anything about Josh, although I want to be like, what's your brother doing? Where's he at? Is he married? Played it super cool, casual, went about my business, and, you know, waited a few days. It's not like today where it just dings you back and you're like, oh, talking back and forth. It was, you know, you wait a few days, and I went back and got on my parents' computer, and I had a message from Justin. So he had messaged me back, and he said, Amanda, it's so good to see you on here.
No, so my brother, so my brother came in, he's like, hey, you need to see Amanda. So I come and I'm looking at her, I'm like, hello.
Not a little girl anymore.
So she done turned 18, y'all, and I'm like, I want that one. I want that one right there. Send her my number, right?
So Justin's like, hey, Amanda, here's Josh's number. It's so good to see you on here. Here's Josh's number. He wants you to give him a call. And I'm like, ah!
So little Miss Southern's like, we don't call boys, but she called me on a Saturday night.
Because my daddy, well, let me call boys. Boys had to call us.
But so she called me.
So I'd call my mom into the room, and I'm like, Mom, Josh wants me to call him. And I'm like, can I call him? And they made an exception. And so it was like a Saturday night or something, and I call his number, and he doesn't answer. And I'm not leaving a voicemail because I haven't talked to him since he didn't hug me when I was 14. So
we talked about that.
So I called him, didn't leave a message, hung the phone up. I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. And couldn't sleep practically because I was just waiting on pins and needles.
I called you.
You called me.
And she's in choir practice.
It was the next day, and it was Sunday, and it was like Sunday afternoon, and we had choir practice. And so I'm in choir practice, and I look down at my phone, and it's like the 803 number, and I'm like, Mom, I gotta go. It's Josh Wright.
Okay, so stop. No. So I call her, and I'm like, what you doing? And
she's like, is this Amanda Power?
It is, right? And I said, are you? So my first question, because I want to go ahead and get this out of the way, guys. You already know. So I said, are you dating anybody? And she goes,
yes.
I've been dating this boy for like 6-7 months. And so I'm like, I'm not worried about that. I'm gonna break it up.
So he did, but I literally, I didn't want to stop talking to him on the phone. I was like talking. What have you been
we pulled
doing?
that whole like
You're not
breathing and
married.
just talking on the phone and just waited like till 3
So
in the morning.
I had to go back to church and had to like listen.
But the next
to church
week,
that night.
we met up where?
We met up the next week. So we got on the phone again that night and we're like, let's meet up. And so
the next week, Hilton
we
Head,
met up.
she gets out of her little red car.
I was so nervous.
And the wind's blowing in her hair, and I'm like, woo, girl. And so, anyways.
I don't know. I think I changed like 15 times.
So we went to Outback that night. Failure to launch.
I mean, you gotta understand. I'm going to go see Josh Wright. Like this is now you want to.
And we're driving down the road. This is so. You're such a church girl. So we're driving down the road, and she's like, "Hey, Mom, I'm holding his hand."
I call my mom.
I was like, "This is the weirdest thing."
We're riding down the road, and we go to Outback. We go to watch Failure to Launch, and we go to the beach. And I call my mom, and I'm holding his hand. I'm like, "Mom, I'm holding Josh's hand." I was so retarded, but anyways, we go on the beach. You kissed me. It was fantastic. Right. The sun was like all in my eyes, and I was just like couldn't breathe. And so I would have married him that moment, that day on the beach. No, there would have been a pastor there.
And
he wasn't a pastor.
If
then.
None of y'all would have judged us, would have got married like
that day. So I had to call all my friends. Guess who I'm dating? Guess who I'm dating? They're like, who? Josh Wright? I'm like, yes, I'm dating Josh Wright. I wanted to date him ever since I was a little girl. And of course, all my friends knew because I talked about him all the time.
Yeah.
And so everybody knew when we, started dating. And then a year after that, you proposed.
We got married.
You know what is so funny? Side note detail. The note I wrote on when I was sad, crying my eyes out because you didn't hug me at my grandmother's house. Mm-hmm. When we were there, it was the note I put, if you love someone, set them free. If it's yours, that whole quote. He used all that stuff, and then he proposed to me. He used that letter in the proposal, and asked me to marry him. And I don't even think I said yes. I just stood put the ring on my finger, and we got married. 7/7/07. My dream came true.
So we just want to push back on you and tell you that hey, miracles do happen, but it's messy. So we want to talk about it.
And we live happily ever after.
Yeah, no. So what we want to talk about
next
is there's a promise, but you got to get through some problems and want to bring into our life and just kind of.
It happens. Dreams do come true. Miracles happen. From I had leukemia. He was like my hope in the hospital. I really believe that, and then I got to marry him, and my dream come true. And we're celebrating 11 years married.
Right. July.
In 2 weeks.
That's right.
And so that's our love story. That's it in a nutshell. And there's a whole lot of details, but I guess we'll have to put that in the book. But
That's right. So now she wasn't supposed to have kids. We got two little cuties.
We got 2 little cuties. And here is just a cute little. I'll show you. Some of these little memories. I did a little paper. There's our wedding day. There's me with no hair. There's our little cute kids. And look, there's me and Josh when I first got treated. Like when I first got to the hospital. I look like look at those bangs, girl. And him in his Hawaiian shirt. But just a few little memories and things we want to share with you.
So what we're going to do is every Friday we're going to bring you into our life. We're going to talk about some heavy things that maybe some things that we went through with suicide and there's just so much from love stories to the struggle of just everyday life.
Parenting, marriage.
Lordy Jesus.
Everyday life.
And just kind of bring you into our world a little bit and
Date's video.
Challenge you to know. You better know that miracles do come true.
They do.
But there's some mess underneath them.
And don't lose hope. I'm so glad you watched. And welcome to our channel.
All you have to do is hit subscribe.
Subscribe to our channel so that way you don't miss anything. And we'll be coming at you a whole lot more. Yep, share it. And can't wait. We're excited. We'll see you soon.